Welcome to Tyla Walker Romance. You're about to dive into one of Miss Tyla's free full audiobooks. She always knows how to make you forget your life with handsome alpha male billionaire heroes and sassy strong heroines who grab love with both hands. In order for this content to be free, we have to take out the dirty details. Otherwise, we risk disrupting this platform's rules and guidelines. Buy the unabridged version of any Tyla Walker audiobook from TylaWalker.com, and with code SAVE40, you can get 40% off any digital product at checkout. Take this moment to subscribe to the channel, and remember that liking and commenting is what makes these free full audiobooks possible. Thank you for choosing to treat yourself with Miss Tyla. Chapter 1. Tavi. Where the hell is my onion jam? Coming up, chef, I yell back. Behind, I call as I place the hot pan on the line. Chef Coulson, my head chef, tastes the caramelized onions before nodding his head in approval. Tastes good. Plate it for me. I take that compliment to heart and continue pushing myself throughout the dinner service. Carla, your tomato soup is too strong. It needs more cream. Take it off the heat, I yell as I pass through the sauce station. Yes, chef. Marco, this needs more salt. I stop suddenly at the meat and fish station when I notice one of our line cooks using a burnt beef tallow. Max, that tallow better be fresh. We got our first Michelin star. We're not going to lose it over a careless mistake. Fix it, please. Heard, chef. As the sous chef, it's my responsibility to make sure the food that comes on the line is faultless and that it keeps moving. I heave a sigh of relief when I get back to my station, which is garnishing. I snap my head around as I feel someone looking at me. Chef Coulson smiles, approval all over his face. As the last order for service goes out, everyone takes a breath and soaks in the quiet. No more than a moment passes before Chef Coulson calls our attention. All right, everyone, it's time to clean up, and then we can call it a night. It takes another hour, and everyone goes home, leaving Chef Coulson and me alone. I jot furiously on my notebook about techniques I can utilize and other systems I can implement for a more efficient kitchen. Then suddenly a hand appears, pressing down on it. Real funny, Coulson, I say mockingly as I tilt my head up. He shakes his head before flicking my forehead. Ow! Hey, what gives? I protest. Join me for a smoke, he invites as he walks toward the exit. You know I don't smoke, I say, frowning. Come on, Tavi, he insists. Shrugging, I follow him outside, picking up my stuff on the way. I don't know what he wants, but I know he doesn't mean any harm. He's the closest thing to an older brother I've got. When I step out of the restaurant, I wrap my arms around myself as the warmth of the night startles me. I look around. Usually, Hollywood Avenue is bustling until late into the night, but now it's devoid of noise. Well, Coulson, who's already seated on the curb, breaks the silence. I shift my gaze to him and he raises his brow. Rolling my eyes, I take the spot next to him. So what is it? I ask, eager to get to the point. He chuckles. Geez, always in such a hurry. I shrug as I stretch my legs. You're always running at 100 miles an hour. You think that's good for you? He asks as he lights his cigarette. Well, isn't it a waste of time if we do otherwise? I'm not getting any younger, I say, fanning the smoke away. You're only 26, Tavi. You have the whole world ahead of you. He falters for a moment. But you're not going to see half of it if you're so focused on running through the entire thing, he exclaims as he bumps my shoulder playfully. I frown. But if I slow down, then I won't make it to where I want to go. Can you get there if you walk? He snickers. Not as fast as if I run, I reply. But aren't you going to get there anyway? He insists. That question makes me stop, and I don't know why, but it stirs up something within me. Silence falls for a while. I sigh. Yeah, I guess. Then don't be afraid to slow down for a walk when you need to. I'm not only saying this because I'm your head chef, he says. I'm also saying this because I'm your friend. I remain silent, staring at the sky. And the last thing I want is to see you passed out on my kitchen floor. Understand? Coulson adds. I try to protest again, but as soon as I shift my gaze to him, all I can see is the seriousness in his expression. I'll try to slow it down, I reply, nodding my head. Good. I want you to keep an eye on yourself as well, he says. Ah, you love me that much, Coulson? I taunt as I punch him in the shoulder, trying to ease the tension. I love you enough to give you potatoes to peel tomorrow, if you don't take this seriously, Tavi. He prods as he tousles my hair aggressively. I stick my tongue out before I stand up, dusting myself off. Are you heading home, kid? Coulson asks. Yeah. I have to rest, as you say, I reply casually. You better, he shouts before going back inside the restaurant. I settle myself in the driver's seat and start the engine. During the ride, I ponder over the events of the day. Chef Coulson's words still stick with me. All I can think about is how slowing down makes sense, and how it would affect me if I keep rushing through things. But I know I'm not the most naturally talented chef, so I have to get by with hard work. I can't afford to stop. Out the window, the lights from the building spread before me, anticipating what tomorrow brings.
Chapter 2. Spencer. The stress after reading every vehemently worded letter addressed to me is more than I can handle. I read through letter after letter, demanding justice and telling me I'm an awful human being. The nerve. I crumple the letter in my hand, gripping it tightly. One of my lawyers shakes his head disapprovingly. This is the third one this month about your behavior in the kitchen, he says in an annoyed tone. You know full well, there are a lot of eyes on you. Being head chef of the most premier restaurant in New York, the United States even, you need to be especially careful of your public image. I scoff. It's not my fault these hacks can't handle the heat in this kitchen. A lot of them are talentless. My lawyer, Danford Lim, lets out a sigh of exasperation. Listen, Spencer, don't give me that damn attitude every time I show up here with a complaint, he warns. I glare at him. Tough and scary, he says mockingly. Look, the world you're in right now isn't the world you want. However, it's mine. Either you play by the rules or you'll be the one to suffer. I take a deep breath, realizing there's no point in arguing. Better, Danford says, referring to my demeanor. Here's the scary bit. The more people come out about what you've done to them, the stronger their case will destroy your career. Everything you have bled, sweat, and cried for will be flushed down the toilet. And if that happens, there may be nothing you can do to fix it. The truth starts to sink in a little faster as I imagine all my restaurants closing down. I look at Danford with a more frantic look on my face. What do I have to do? I ask. Danford shakes his head. The only thing you can do is let me handle things on my end. I can attempt to appease the prosecuting party without going public. I need you to lay low on the damn cursing and swearing. He taps me on my shoulder. It's bad enough that everyone can cancel anyone at any given time. Don't make it worse. I nod as he lets go of my jacket. Good. You still have a dinner service to run, right? Danford asks as he steps outside my office. Trust me, Spencer. I will do everything I can, but it's really up to you. Good luck, he adds as he closes the door behind him. I look back at the crumpled letters on the floor and scowl at them. All this is happening because a bunch of inept jerks believe they can walk into my kitchen and muck things up. I'll be damned if I serve a dish that's the slightest bit below perfection. I look in the mirror in my office, straighten up my chef's jacket, and step into my kitchen. I don't like being in Danford's world. I much prefer being on my own. My kitchen is my domain. and my staff are my subjects. Every single station must be working in absolute perfection if they even want to think about bringing any dish on the line. I run through the stations briefly, tasting all the sauces and soups as I go along. "More salt," I say as I taste a rather bland demi-glace. "Yes, chef! I want its fat rendered, not seared," I yell over to the duck. "Yes, chef!" I start to get frustrated the more I check. Every single bit of imperfection is a thorn in my side, jamming into my ribs without ceasing. I head over to the line and check on the customers. The kitchen is getting a push, as always. "All right, we have another heavy night. I want all hands on deck," I yell. Anything that isn't perfect is thrown out and replaced. We have 3 stars in this flagship, and we're not losing a single one because any of you buttheads decided to experiment. "Now, move!" The rest of my crew leaps. I go around each station to help keep things as efficient as possible. The more I do for my crew, the more they appear in awe of my skills. That's how it should be. In terms of culinary ability, I'm the pinnacle of excellence. It's just a matter of talent. The frustrating part is that I have yet to meet anyone with my level of ability. No matter how hard they try, no one has ever attained the perfection I can with a dish. It's preferable for people who lack the skill to just give up. The kitchen is only welcome for those who are gifted. It's a waste of time to work hard. I snap out of my trance at the sound of a dish smashing onto the floor. I turn around to see a young saucier whose name escapes me, looking at me in horror as a shattered plate of demi-glace sauce lays at her feet. My nostrils flare. "What the hell are you doing? Don't just stare! Pick it up!" I scream as she panics to fix up the mess she made. After that, "Get the hell out of my kitchen. We don't have room for a klutz like you." She runs out of the kitchen weeping, and I catch some of the crew freeze in shock at what I've said. I clench my fists tightly at my sides as I shut my eyes closed. "I did it again. Get back to work," I hiss.
Chapter 3. Tavi. It's a good thing I live in Eagle Rock, only a 10-minute ride from Hollywood Avenue. I pull into the driveway with a sigh of relief. "Ah, finally," I mumble as I stretch out my arms. I jog up the stairs to my second-floor apartment and take the envelope that's jammed through the crack at my door. I'm too tired to check it now, so I casually toss it on my kitchen counter. With a tired groan, I crash onto the couch as I throw my head back. "This counts as resting, right?" I say as I whip out my phone. The closest thing to relaxation I get is lying down on my couch and listening to audiobooks. Most of the stuff I listen to is about self-improvement, how someone can push themselves to the extremes and achieve the greatness unattainable to the lazy, which my parents always remind me of. A sudden yawn escapes my lips. Wondering if one of my parents left me any messages, I take my laptop to the small coffee table and open it. After staring at it for a couple of minutes, I quickly close it and plop back onto the couch. It's been nearly a year since we last spoke. I don't think they'd want to talk to me ever again. If they want me to chill out with work as well, they should have taught me that when I was younger, I mutter. Everyone is telling me to relax, but I'm not going to. How will I get anywhere with that? I add. I lean back, slowly drifting to the voice in the audiobook. The content is about a man who works as a Navy SEAL. Extreme or not, they have some ironclad work ethics I can learn. As the story starts to become more exciting, I realize my lips are dry. I guess in the hustle of service, I haven't been able to drink nearly enough water. I get up and walk to the fridge, taking out a bottle. I lay my back against it as I devour the water, before my eyes dart at the piece of paper. Curiosity gets the best of me as I reach for it and bring it with me to the couch. It's a strange envelope with a logo that resembles a kitchen knife. Perhaps someone wants to sponsor me, I mumble to myself. A scoff escapes my lips, as if. I tear the envelope and slide the letter out of it. Okay, here we go. Dear Ms. Octavia Washington, I hope this letter finds you well. It appears you have not received the numerous emails we've been trying to send to you online. As such, we've decided to send you the invitation via snail mail. The team behind the hit TV show, Chef Masters, would like to formally invite you to join us as one of the contestants on the show. Naturally, you'll receive a ton of public exposure, as well as proper compensation if you choose to take part. Furthermore, the ultimate prize includes a $1 million cash reward, as well as the opportunity to work with some of the world's most well-known chefs. Should you accept, you'll be going to Manhattan, New York, where the contest is being held, and where you'll be introduced to the rest of the contestants and cast. We do hope you can join us on this adventure. Sincerely, host and producer, Sean Neville. My mouth drops open and I blink a few times to make sure I'm not hallucinating. I read it out loud multiple times, my eyes drinking every word to make sure it's not a joke. I look over the name and signature on the bottom and check to see if they're legit online. A wide grin creeps on my face. It's freaking legit. Not to mention the inundation of emails from the same company with the same logo, which I find in my junk mail. I scream for a split second before covering my mouth, immediately to avoid waking the neighbors. Chef Masters? They want me to? The excitement finally takes over my exhaustion as I look over the details of the contracts they sent me. I bounce up and down on my couch excitedly, the thought of being exposed to a world of culinary geniuses practically making my mouth water. This is amazing. I can't believe it. I have to tell someone, I squeal. I immediately grab my phone and look through my contacts. However, as soon as I open it, regret takes over my excitement when my mom's and dad's names appear on top. I shake my head after a second, realizing that moping about our fight is a waste of time. There's no time to think about the past now. If I pull this off, everything will follow. I have to get my head in the game. Forget what my parents and Carlson told me about resting. If I want to win, I have to work for it. There's no success without effort.
Chapter 4. Spencer. My sudden outburst just moments ago still has my crew a little shaken. But what's a kitchen with no yelling? Honestly, if they'd worked with the likes of Marco Pierre White or Joel Robuchon in their prime, I'd look like a damn teddy bear. After throwing out some of the trash, I go back to my office. Out of frustration, I release a puff of air, seeing the crumpled letters scattered around my office, from the desk to the floor. But I can't bring myself to throw them away, because if things escalate, then I'll need them. If only there's a way for me to get out of this mess. Suddenly, my phone vibrates in my pocket. Absent-mindedly, I pull it out, accepting the call. Spencer Crow speaking, I mumble. Hey, Spencer, my man! I pull my phone away from my ear as the voice echoes. That obnoxious voice, the high pitch, the natural charisma and cadence to his words, and the ever-so-slight Irish accent are all giveaways. It's Sean Neville, TV host and producer of whatever cooking show airs on primetime television or Netflix. How's everything going on your end? He pauses. Oh, wait, I think that's an insensitive question. My bad. I'm not interested, Sean, I snicker as I almost hang up. Man, you haven't even heard what I was going to say. I don't know, but it's more or less something like, I, Sean Neville, would personally like you to be a guest judge on my newest reality show, Kitchen Dreams, or something like that. Sean bursts into laughter. I was going to invite you to dinner. No, thanks, I say nonchalantly. I hear him smirk on the other line before he says, Even your palate can't turn down Michelin star dishes and cocktails. Live a little? Besides, you're surely hungry from dinner service, and I'm paying. It's win-win. He's right. This particular dinner service has been tiring, so it may be a good idea to get some food in me before I prepare for tomorrow. Fine, as long as you promise me you won't be talking, like you're shouting the whole time. I won't make any promises I can't keep. But anyway, you know the place. Liqueur. Don't take too long, he says before he hangs up. As much as I find the guy annoying, he has outstanding taste in restaurants. I don't think liqueur is better than my restaurant. Crow, but the fact that it's debatable to everyone else means it's pleasant enough. I look around to find Neville sitting in a booth in the corner. Funny how the loudest guy in the world picks the quietest and most isolated spot. He seems to be finishing a call as I walk toward him. He smiles at me and gives me an unwarranted pat on the shoulder. Well, 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 if it isn't Spencer Crow! The hotshot chef is in hot water, isn't he? Sean taunts. Funny, I reply, sarcasm laced in my words. It never seems to work on him, though. If anything, I think my sarcasm motivates him to become even more energetic. Oh, don't be like that, Spence. Come on. I got us those herb-crusted lamb chops you love so much, he says, giving me an even more annoying grin. I said I love anything that stirs my palate. It's not just the lamb, I say, emphasizing the last sentence. He shrugs. Fair enough. I also got us some of that truffle cream pasta with shaved pecorino. Creamy. Decadent. Overused? I chime. He shakes his head with a smile. A fan favorite! That's the reason it's on the menu, Spencer. People love it. And as long as people keep loving it, it will stay, he says, his tone becoming a little more serious. Curiosity finally gets to me. You didn't invite me here for the sake of catching up, did you? I sigh in disbelief. He smirks. As much as I love entertaining, I also have another love. Business. And I have a business proposal I think would be extremely beneficial to both of us. I stare at him with a skeptical look. Talk, I reply. Perfect. Mr. Crow, you and I both know your reputation has been taking quite a few hits lately. More and more people are coming out about your verbal intensity in the kitchen. He trails off. And more people are threatening to sue. But that's a very one-sided story, Spencer. One-sided? I ask, raising an eyebrow. Yes, one-sided. A story needs multiple sides to be compelling. And yet almost everyone sees only the jerk or the hothead. They never see the artist, the perfectionist, the chef. Sean stops talking for a while and pulls out an envelope from the briefcase sitting next to him. He drops a file onto the table, filled with what I assume to be paperwork. In that folder, I have the answer to your whole image problem. I'm hosting a show. Here we go, I say, rolling my eyes. Come on, pal, work with me here. I'm hosting this show called Chef Masters, where I take the greatest chefs in the world and pit them against each other. Winner gets $1 million prize. I don't need $1 million, I scoff. No, but you do need exposure. Exposure to a different side of you, Sean says before letting out a sigh. Listen, we want this show to work, but to do that, we need someone who's going to put eyes on our screen. And that someone is you. And I need a way to make my image look better to the public, I say, starting to contemplate it. I look down at the folder Sean has now opened to reveal a contract. As long as people love something, it stays. And if you want to save your reputation, people have to love you, he says. I think it over before letting out a sigh. Fine, I'll do it.
Chapter 5. Tavi. I drag my suitcase, heading to the area where the Chef Master's mobile is waiting. It's simply a black van with the words Chef Masters printed on the side. I put my jacket on as I feel the cold air on my skin, the wind blowing through my hair. It's freaking cold. I give a slight smile to the driver before I get in. After a couple of minutes, my vision blurs. I yawn, but a smile forms on my lips as my eyes behold a large estate. Please ring the doorbell. I've contacted the housekeeper just before you arrived, and she can take you on the tour, the driver says with a smile. Thank you so much, I reply as he waves and drives off. I direct my attention back to the behemoth of a house that looks like it belongs to a president of some country, or maybe to royalty. I walk up and ring the doorbell just beside it. A few seconds pass before a woman opens the door. She's a beautiful older woman, probably in her mid-50s, who's wearing a solemn expression on her face. Welcome, Miss Octavia Washington. We've been waiting for you to arrive, "It's an honor to have you on our show," she says as she bows slightly toward me. My heart leaps from excitement. "Hi," I greet, a little intimidated by her poise and regal stature. She gives me a warm smile. "Come in, I will show you all the amenities. If we run into some of the participants, by all means greet them if you wish," she says as she begins to walk. "Thank you, miss?" I ask as I follow her. "Mrs. Victoria Rush," she corrects. I've been the housekeeper of the Gothenburg estate for nearly 27 years. Occasionally, this building is rented out by TV series and the like for shoots. I've handled my fair share of actors and contestants, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me, okay? I nod with a smile. All right. She quickly brings me through the entire complex in less than 10 minutes. Her pace is quite blistering. She takes me to the bathrooms, the yard, the living area, and the dining area. However, she does take a longer time in the kitchen, which I appreciate since I'll be doing a lot of practice here. I gasp in amazement as she goes through the pantry, as well as the delivery timings for our fruit and meats. After all that, she takes me to my room. "Please wait here while I get your things, or if you'd like to take a look around, you may do that as well. I will leave your things just by the door." "Thank you, Mrs. Rush," I reply with a smile. She nods at me sweetly before stepping back out. Now that I'm here, all my lethargy's gone. I'm in an enormous house with a fully stocked and well-equipped kitchen at my disposal. There's absolutely no way I wouldn't be excited. I quickly hop back out of the room and head to the spacious living room to take it all in. My eyes are wide as I gawk at my surroundings when I notice that a few of the other contestants are already there. One of them waves at me with a smile. Others who look happy to see me do the same. "Hey, welcome to the Gothenburg estate. We're going to be living together for a while, so I hope we get along. I'm Carlos. I work in a restaurant in Peru called Papa Blanca," he states as he stretches his hand out to me for a handshake. I oblige and shake his hand firmly. "I like that handshake, new girl. What's your name?" "My name is Octavia Washington, but you can all call me Tavi. I'm a sous chef in Lexique in California," I reply as I look at the others. The blonde girl sitting next to Carlos smiles at me. "I am actually from France. My name is Angelique. I work at Le Petit Oeuf, and I'm a line cook, working my way up to sous chef as well." The Asian man sitting on the solo chair just next to them speaks up next. "I am Jason Howe. You can call me Jason or Howe, whichever. I work in a Chinese fusion restaurant in Taiwan called Evolution, and I am the head chef." And finally, it's the turn of the girl, sitting by herself on the couch opposite Carlos and Angelique. "I am Henri Sato. I work for a Japanese fine dining restaurant in Kyoto, and I am also the head chef." Being surrounded by such talented individuals excites me, motivating me to work even harder. Suddenly, one of the bathroom doors opens, and the room goes completely silent as a tall, imposing man walks out. He has a cold and scrutinizing glare that seems permanently plastered on his face. We all hold our breaths as he walks a few feet to his room. He closes his door with a slam before we all collectively take a breath and start talking again. "Who's that?" I ask. Carlos leans in and says, "That's Spencer Crowe. Probably the toughest chef in America. Rumor has it, he has a bunch of lawsuits coming up for verbal abuse in the kitchen," he adds with a shrug. I look back at the door he had closed. I thought I was getting a fake marriage, but I didn't know my story was being told by Miss Tyla.
This isn't just any fake marriage, now is it?
No, you introduced me to the devil.
Come on, girl, Jacob isn't that bad.
Oh, I love Jacob. His family, on the other hand?
Beggars can't be choosers, Nyla. You should be grateful I even let Jacob Stone look your way.
I just wanted to save my granddaddy. Is that so bad? Why couldn't you let this be a normal fake marriage? Instead, you put me in a twisty story filled with money, betrayal, power, and lies.
Let's not forget love.
That's what keeps me going. But not gonna lie, Miss Tyla. This story you got me in ain't the simple fake marriage, happy ending I thought it would be.
It's not. Because where would be the fun in that?
Treat yourself to Say Less I Love You. Tuesdays and Thursdays. New seasons premiere every month. Or skip the wait and grab the full series bundle from TylaWalker.com. Treat yourself with Miss Tyla.
Chapter 6. Spencer. As I step out of the bathroom, the lively conversation disappears. My forehead creases as I catch a new girl glancing at me. I don't recall seeing her here earlier. Probably someone who's just arrived. Who's that? The question doesn't escape my ears before I enter my room. The door makes a clicking sound as I shut it tight, locking it behind me. "That's Spencer Crow!" another voice echoes. I hear someone mention lawsuits, and I know they're talking about me. A scoff leaves my mouth as I feel the heat in my face rise, almost tempted to tell them all to mind their own business. Aren't we all past the age of exchanging gossip? My legal dilemmas don't concern them. I'm used to this kind of thing. It's been this way since I was a kid. Being a young protege in the culinary world isn't easy. Even back then, there was a lot of talking and whispering behind my back. But I've learned to ignore it. I know my talents, and I know what I can do. Whatever those people are saying doesn't matter. They're nothing to me anyway. However, there are days when things do get to me. Maybe you should learn to play nice. Sean's voice rings in my head, reminding me that I need to improve my reputation. Blowing up on the other contestants on our first day here won't help me. But I'm not in the mood to play nice, especially not after knowing they have preconceived judgments, all without meeting me. I shake my head. It's pointless to get worked up over nothing. I wake up the next morning not feeling much hope for today. We have the entire day to get acquainted with the location and each other before the shoot begins tomorrow, which I think is a waste of time. Why don't we get this over with already? Forcing my eyes to stay shut, trying to get back to sleep and just let the day pass. But after tossing and turning for a few more minutes, I finally admit defeat and get up. I head to the dining room where I hear voices, laughing and chatting. As I walk into the room, I see the new girl laughing with a guy. She spots me and makes her way toward me with a big smile on her face. "Hey, we haven't been introduced yet. I'm Tavi." She extends her hand to shake hands. I raise a brow as I stare at her outstretched hand for a second before shaking it. "Spencer," I answer simply. "Come, join us!" She beams with delight. "We're just about to have breakfast." She goes back to her seat, and for a moment, I debate whether I should go back to my room or not. In the end, I decide to join them. A few minutes with these people won't kill me. I stay quiet during the entire breakfast, only answering with a one-word or short sentence to questions directed at me. I'm not interested in their life stories. Why would I care about their restaurants in other parts of the world? Why would I care about which chef they've worked with in the past? Maybe you should learn to play nice. It's Sean's voice again ringing in my head, reminding me why I agreed to this whole damn thing in the first place. Maybe it wouldn't kill me to be friendlier with these people. It would be pleasing for the press, but then again, the contest hasn't started yet. They might not even add scenes from the mansion in the show, so what's the point? I prefer to look nice for the actual show. Now that would certainly help my image. Shaking my head, I quickly finish my food and return to my room without saying anything. My restaurants aren't going to close because I'm preoccupied with this competition. I've got work to do. I'm not going to waste my time getting to know these people. I spend the whole day inside my room, working on my laptop. Honestly, it takes more than just preparation and serving meals to run a restaurant. There's also a lot of paperwork to deal with, as well as bookkeeping and creating menus. When I finally look up from my laptop, the sun is already setting, casting an orange and purple tint on the sky. I stay by my window for a long moment to watch the magnificent view, until the sky turns from dark blue to black. It's late. My stomach starts to rumble, and I decide to get something to eat. I might as well check out the kitchen because I wasn't able to do much exploring around the mansion earlier. It's quiet in the common areas of the mansion tonight. Everyone is probably in their rooms. Not that I'm complaining. I prefer peace over the noise earlier. I can think better in it. I pass by the lounge to see one of the contestants sitting on the couch with a book in hand. Thankfully, she just smiles at me and continues reading. As I walk to the kitchen, I hear a clanking noise. Slowly, I take a peek to see Tavi busy with something. She's staring in a casserole with her brows furrowed. Then she starts slicing something. I can't see what she's doing, so I decide to make my way toward her. As I walk closer, I can hear her humming softly while her body sways a little. In her hand is a small notebook and a pen. I clear my throat as she quickly turns to me, startled.
Chapter 7. Tavi. The sun is about to set, and I can't believe the competition is starting tomorrow. I'm a little annoyed for allowing myself to get distracted. I spent the whole day just hanging out and talking to all the other contestants when I should have been preparing. I mean, yeah, they're great, of course. I had fun getting to know them and learning about their food, but I should remember to focus. After all, this is a competition, and I'm here to win. My nerves are starting to get the best of me, so I made my way to the kitchen, berating myself a little. The kitchen here is the reality of all my fantasies, and it's something I aspire to have in my home one day. With a few slick black mini appliances, it's decorated in a combination of stainless steel and white marble. Paradise. I walk around the large kitchen, touching every surface within my reach. Mrs. Rush must have a blast cooking here. Finally, I reach the walk-in pantry and come to a complete halt. Spices, condiments, and other ingredients are displayed beautifully on shelves. Then my gaze shifts to the left side door, labeled freezer, and inside are various proteins and veggies neatly placed on shelves. To top it off, I can use anything and everything I want because the show would be paying for it anyway. Jackpot! It's like being back at Lexique. Only this time, I have free reign. I can cook or make whatever I want, no menu to follow, no orders, nothing to hold me back. I let myself get lost in my fantasies for a while, imagining that I'm running a restaurant and creating a whole different menu. Okay, Tavi, time to get serious, I whispered to myself, putting my hair in a bun. It's time to buckle down. I trust that I have a rich palate and am aware that my cooking is good. But those things took some time to develop. Everything I've lacked in natural talent, I've made up for in hard work, and I've given countless hours of my life to learning and making sure I'm constantly improving. This competition is no different. I'll be going up against talented chefs from all over the world. If I keep working hard, then I can surely beat them all. Fish is my biggest concern for now, so I start with halibut. I try different purees that would match it perfectly. I think that pureeing the vegetables would be a nice touch instead of just regularly cooked on the side. I'm killing this, I tell myself as I taste another batch, trying to bolster myself up. It's already well into the night, and the whole house is quiet. I look at my top 2 puree contenders for the halibut, carrot, ginger, and pea. I can't decide which one is better. At times like this, I wish Chef Colton was here to taste my work. He's always so decisive. The kitchen counter quickly fills up with different ingredients and equipment. I keep working and jotting down my favorites when I hear someone clear their throat behind me. The sudden noise in the quiet house startles me, and I almost jump before turning around. Spencer is standing behind me, looking amused. The side of his mouth is curled up a little, like he's trying to suppress a grin. "Oh, hi," I manage to say, once my heart rate is back to normal. I haven't seen Spencer since breakfast. I suppose he prefers to keep to himself. but the other candidates believe he has an attitude problem. They told me about the lawsuits and other charges against him, and I guess if I had those things going on, I'd stay away from other people too. Sometimes people can be so unfair, so quick to judge. Maybe he's just shy or uncomfortable with strangers. I've heard he had been the protege of some culinary great. Growing up with so much pressure must have done a number on him. "What are you doing?" he asks, sitting on a stool by the counter. I get a little defensive and consider telling him to mind his own business, but then decide I have nothing to hide. I have no secrets, and we all know everyone here is out to beat the others. I tell him what I'm doing, how I'm trying out different purees for different proteins, trying to match them perfectly. He snorts and dips a finger on one of the pans, tasting it. His eyebrows rise in approval, and he tastes it again. "Can't all this wait till morning?" he asks, gesturing to all the plates and pans. "No, I've been working hard for hours now, and I need to prepare for tomorrow." "That's stupid," he comments, standing up. Those words make me stop. What did he just say? "Are you calling me stupid?" I couldn't help it. There's an edge to my voice, and I know he senses it too. I can feel myself getting worked up, and I try to calm my nerves. "No, I'm saying that exerting this much effort is stupid. It's a waste of time." "Well, not everyone is born gifted, so maybe they need to work a little harder." I frown. "No one is going to tell me what I'm doing is stupid." "Then maybe they don't belong in the kitchen." He smirks before walking away, leaving me fuming. I can't believe the nerve of that guy. I was mistaken about him. He isn't shy, and he does have an attitude problem. Why did I ever think there was more to him?
Chapter 8. Spencer. I know what I said was uncalled for, but I couldn't help it. Is Tavi under the impression that simply because she's working hard, she can defeat me? Of course not. How can anyone beat raw talent? Since I was a kid, cooking has always come naturally to me. And I apologize, but no matter how hard she tries, I'll still always be better than her. It's silly that she spends so much time preparing and getting ready. I can hear Sean's voice in my head again, telling me to play nice. It feels like he's becoming my Jiminy Cricket during this competition. My conscience. Annoying, though he may be. I'm not sure I like that. I hear her stomping behind me, coming closer. I know I should keep my mouth shut and keep walking, but somehow I find it quite entertaining to annoy her. I put a smile on my face, ready for her arguments. But just as I turn to face her, her hand hits me across the face with full force. For a moment, I can't understand what just happened. Sure, people have shouted at me. I've even been in a couple of fights, but I've never been smacked in the face like that before. I've never bothered dating since running a handful of restaurants has kept me busy. Is this, however, what a female does when she's enraged? My hand cups my face, feeling the heat where her hand made contact with my skin. I can't do anything except stare at this girl who appears prepared to fight. There's determination, hatred, and stubbornness in the way she's looking at me. It's almost as if she's willing to stake her entire life on winning. Then let's see who's the better chef, Octavia snaps. The hard worker or the natural talent, she states with such venom she's almost spitting the words at me. Let's see about that. Yeah, sure, I answer nonchalantly, not wanting her to think she's even at my level. A frown creases her forehead like she's trying to figure out whether I give a damn about what she just said or not. I stare back at her, but she quickly averts her gaze. With one last glare, she walks away from me and goes back to the kitchen, muttering something under her breath. Most likely, cursing at me. The next day, the participants are all gathered in a big room with cameras all over it, workstations on one side and a stock area on the other, while the judges are seated in front, chatting and laughing. Tavi, on the other hand, is serious and focused across the room, barely even speaking. A grin crosses my lips as I suddenly recall the last thing she said to me last night. I must have hit a nerve. Just then, she peeks in my direction, and our eyes momentarily meet before she rolls her eyes, not even attempting to disguise her displeasure with me. Before I could react, Sean announces the theme, which is fine dining. Easy, I think to myself. Everything at Crow or most of my restaurants is fine dining. I've worked with a lot of chefs specializing in fine dining cuisine. I got this in the bag. We would be focusing on red meat. It's almost as though the universe is conspiring to ensure I win. 1 hour is allotted for preparation, cooking, and plating. When the countdown goes off, the other contenders dash to the stockroom, scrambling to get their ingredients. I take my time walking there, pondering what dish to make. I notice Sean looking at me with an eyebrow raised, as if to ask why the heck I'm wandering about like I'm in a park. Smirking, I give him a little wink before grabbing everything I need. Once settled in my workstation, I tune everything out, not paying attention to the chaos around me. Especially not to the other contestants rushing around, trying to finish everything. I focus on the ingredients in front of me, working without even really thinking about it. It's like my hands are moving on their own. I barely heard Sean speaking to me as he makes his rounds, checking on each contestant's dishes. And with 10 minutes to spare, I finish my dish. I made Niçoise beef with a personal touch. It's a recipe I've been thinking of adding to my menu, and I thought today would be an excellent time to test it. Wow, Spencer Crowe seems to have finished already. Wrapping up in record time, Sean announces, and I catch some contestants looking at me. I glance at Tavi in the corner, still busy with her dish. The clock continues to run, and finally the time is up. One by one, we serve our dishes to the judges. As expected, the judges loved my dish. It received high praises, making me the winner of the first challenge with laughable ease. Doesn't even feel like I'm competing. Meanwhile, Tavi is almost on the chopping block, being in the bottom 3. She decided to cook lamb with a lemon potato puree, probably something she was working on last night. I guess all that practice didn't pay off after all. As Sean announces my prize and the penalty for the contestants with the lowest scores, I look at her with a cocky grin. It's petty, I know, but that doesn't stop me from rubbing it in. That's right, innate talent still reigns supreme.
Chapter 9. Tavi. As I hear my name in the bottom 3, my enthusiasm turns to disbelief. I close my eyes as my irritation seeps through me like electricity. I put my whole heart and soul into it, and I'd anticipated doing better than this. When my gaze shifts towards Spencer, there's a smug smirk plastered on his face, making me further eager to defeat him. What he said last night still stings, but never in a million years would I ever show him how much it affects me. I stare at him blankly, deciding to let those feelings fire me up and drive me to achieve the outcome I want, the one I deserve. All right, you still have lots of chances to improve your performance and turn the tables. Sean's voice echoes in the air. Be sure to do your best and show off more of your skills in the next round. I take a deep breath and gaze down at my shoes. So, the next dish is traditional and, quite honestly, one of the smartest and perhaps most exquisite pastry meat combos ever made. The host trails off as he smiles at the camera. Did you have something specific in mind? I think I know what it is. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be recreating beef Wellington. I hear a sigh from my co-competitor, but I have no idea if it's from relief or worry. Nevertheless, I'm determined to channel all my emotion into this dish. A twist? I need a change of pace. I think of all the things I could add to the dish to make it stand out. I won't be able to win if I make the usual stuff. Suddenly, the image of the puree I made the night before flashes in my mind. It worked perfectly with red meat. My eyes gleam with anticipation as I wonder how they would find it. When the timer ends, it's time for the judges to try our dishes. Next up is Octavia. Let's see what she has for us, Sean says in excitement. One of the judges asks, "What do you have for us, Olivia?" as he nods toward my dish. It's my version of beef Wellington with my special puree, I explain as I give him a soft smile. I watch as they slice a portion and take a bite, showing positive expressions. My heart is pounding as I wait for their responses. Astounding! The puree is a compliment. The beef is juicy and cooked evenly, yet it isn't soggy at all. The pastry is firm and soft, he says as he surveys the entire room. It's just perfect. Thank you, chef, I say before I return to my station. The judges are still smiling and nodding as they discuss my dish. I shift my attention to Spencer, but he's simply staring at me. All the participants are being called up. Some receive positive feedback, others get mixed reviews, while others are chastised for not meeting the judges' standards. I glance at the person who's last to be evaluated, Spencer. This is terrific, but quite frankly, it lacks the twist a recreated dish requires to stand out from the rest of the pack, one judge says, and the rest behind him nod in agreement. It would also be interesting to explore new combinations. But overall, this is a great dish, he adds, classically a perfect beef Wellington. Thanks, chef, Spencer replies as he turns around, walking toward his station. A perfect beef Wellington? Why is he even here? Perhaps a ray of hope? Or simply for the sake of exposure? Well, I guess there's still a lot to learn, especially to control his hubris. He has areas for improvement. I shake my head, letting go of any distracting ideas. Why am I even concerned? It's not like I'm interested in his life or anything. I release a small sigh of relief since I did a great job. Enough for my dish to be described as extraordinary. That was my first and definitely not my last. I'll put forth even more effort. We watch as the judges return to the room, signaling that they've finished their deliberations and are ready to hand the results to Sean. I take a deep breath as Sean starts announcing the best dishes. I have in my hands the top 3 names whose cuisine astounded the judges. Okay, here we go. The top 3 cooks for this round, he trails off. The room is utterly silent. I can feel all of us holding our breaths, waiting for Sean to continue. Spencer, Octavia, and Ben, please come up to the platform. I'm not sure how to react, but I make my way to the platform alongside Spencer with a smile on my face. The 3 of you did a wonderful job, but there's only one who can win first place and earn an advantage. My hands are suddenly sweaty as Sean signals the primary judge to declare the first place. The winning dish was a delectable treat, not only because it was cooked to perfection inside and out, but also because it created a wonderfully unexpected new flavor that lingered. Congratulations, Octavia. My eyes widen and I feel like my heart skips a beat. Did I hear correctly? I turn around to find my competitors applauding me. But my eyes divert to someone who doesn't seem pleased, refusing to clap. Spencer. With his hands behind his back, he's stoic and quiet. I smile as my happiness overwhelms me. Still, I'll take this victory as an incentive to improve. I'll show everyone I'm capable of winning.
You think you can catch me? You think you can tame me?
Oh, I know I can. And you know it too, baby.
I gotta tell you, you're not the first to try.
But don't worry, baby. I'll be the last.
With sass like that, maybe I'll be the one that needs to tame you.
Let's cut to the chase, big boy. What you selling me?
Your appetite is big AF. I have just the thing that'll satisfy you.
Oh, really? And what's that?
Over 120 hours of romance audiobooks. Brought to you by Tyla Walker Romances in the Big AF Audio Bundle.
120 hours? That sounds amazing.
Your knees won't work afterwards if I do my job right.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Well, I can keep this promise. Because these audiobooks are unabridged with all the spicy scenes that will make you put your earbuds on. You know, Tyla can get freaky because she marked the bundle down by 69% for a limited time.
I can't wait to take this bundle for a ride.
Visit TylaWalker.com and get this audio bundle. Just don't start listening if you're going to be cooking dinner. Because you might just forget to feed your family
TylaWalker.com. Escape your life with Tyla.
Chapter 10. Spencer, but I can't believe I'm doing this. Sometimes I second-guess myself and wonder why I'm here when it's apparent I don't need to prove my talent any longer. Clenching my jaw, I get up from the bed and grab my jacket. It's probably a good idea to go for a stroll. I storm out of my room, heading toward the front door, but I stop in my tracks as the sound of light clanking pricks my ears. My lips form into a thin line. Who in their right mind is cooking at this hour? Is the person hungry or something, given that it's far beyond dinner time? What a voracious appetite. I step into the kitchen and my brow furrows as I recognize a familiar figure. Octavia. She's preparing something and I'm getting a whiff of salmon. I walk right in her direction. So, I trail off. How many times do I have to remind you to quit wasting your time? I say as I stand in front of her, arms crossed. She doesn't seem surprised by my presence and continues to prepare what looks to be a marinade. Oddly, she chose spices I wouldn't use. I assume she's trying something new. I clear my throat loudly as she continues to ignore me. Octavia snaps her head toward me without uttering a single word. She stares at me intensely, as if she's bored with my presence. I scrutinize her, watching her with interest. So, Tavi, I falter, emphasizing her name. Are you going to transfer and concentrate more on science now? I ask mockingly. I'm sure you'll uncover a new ingredient or something. With all that mixing, I chuckle lightly. Octavia stays silent as she turns back around and just keeps tasting a variety of sauces. Ah, yes, I trail off. I believe you're the most logical of them all. She stops for a while, obviously taken aback by the fact that I almost complimented her. Silly woman, I don't give praise until they're flawless. I give her a half smile. After all, a person with no talent should work twice as hard. Her eyes pierce through me like needles. What? Did that ring a bell, Octavia? A smirk creeps on my lips. She looks at me for a while before taking a deep breath and closing her eyes. Silence falls for a while. Mind your own business and get out of here, she says, her voice calm yet irritated at the same time. This is entertaining, making me forget about my walk. But I can feel the tension rising between us. What if I don't? I ask. Just get out of here and show off your attitude someplace else. You are ruining my food with your very presence, she says, emphasizing the words. The audacity. This is what I should have anticipated from a mediocre chef who survives on her hard work. A burst of laughter leaves my mouth. That was such a cheap shot, I say, trying to compose myself. I almost forgot you were a chef. I almost mistook you for a toddler back there. She laughs back sarcastically and continues to remain unaffected. Really? Who came in here and started speaking nonsense? My forehead creases as I see her laugh back at my face. She continues, Look in the mirror, and you'll see the child you're seeking for. Her lips form into a thin line, the irritated look on her face unmistakable. Don't get me wrong. I'm truly here as someone concerned about you, I say, clenching my jaw. Have some manners and thank me for rescuing you from your fantasy world, I add. This is what I hate about people. They don't know where they belong. They force themselves to fit where they don't. I wish people like her would wake up and stop trying so hard. It's distressing to see people strive so hard yet fail over and over again. Do you want to hear how I came out on top? I let out a smirk. I can feel her pause for a moment, as if she's waiting for me to continue. Because I have talent that you don't! A howl of laughter filled with amusement escapes from my mouth. I watch as she almost loses her grip on the spoon she's using for testing. You believe that because you think too highly of yourself, she says, her gaze remaining fixed on the task at hand. Well, that's true because, number one, I was born with it, I say, leaning against the countertop facing her. And number two, I don't need to explain it to someone who wouldn't understand, I add, waiting for her response. She remains quiet, but I notice the unsteady rhythm of her chest heaving up and down as she breathes. A small smile tugs at the corner of my lips, an amused expression on my face. You know, in a competition, talent is everything. It's not like a normal kitchen where you attempt to make a living. I suppose that extra effort and hard work might be beneficial and even required, but it's different out here in the competitive arena. I take a moment to make sure she's paying attention to the advice I'm giving. What I'm suggesting is that you should just give up while you still have time. Go back to your kitchen and put your energy there. At the very least, you're not wasting your time and everyone else is there. Don't you think that's a good thing? I ask her. Do whatever you want to feed your ego, but don't bother me, she responds. Go live in your dreamland. Enjoy the notion of becoming the best cook you can because you're going to lose it. Her expression turns even colder and more bitter as if I just enraged her more. Whatever you say. I smile at that response as I walk away. I'm unconcerned because I believe in myself. In this competition, I'm still the superior
Chapter 11. Tavi. Redemption, the only word hovering in my head, driving my will to train harder and infusing me with inspiration and excitement for the next match. Clenching my fists, I envision wringing Spencer's neck and thrashing him about the place, although burying a hard right punch into that perfectly shaped jaw of his doesn't seem all that awful either. I shake my head to get rid of such notions. As much as I would relish planting a facer on the pompous jerk, I don't want to descend to his level of brutality. If there's a way for me to redeem myself while also proving him wrong, it's to beat him at his own game. Nothing will taste sweeter than me giving him a taste of his own medicine. It's been 3 days since the first competition, and I've spent most of my time in the kitchen, creating, enhancing, and mastering recipes while honing my skills. This unspoken rivalry with Spencer is much more than him being arrogant and smug toward people like me. In this competition, I want to prove that, despite not being as good as he is naturally, I deserve a place in the kitchen, and that I have a chance to become a fine chef. I also want to show my coworkers, parents, and hell, the rest of the world that even with meager talents, people who work hard can be a part of something remarkable. I want to smack those realities in Spencer's face. From my station, I catch a glimpse of Spencer, who's staring at me blatantly. As if that isn't enough, he cocks his head and smirks at me, provoking me to wipe it away with my fist. Despite the seething wrath inside me, I immediately glance aside, ashamed at being caught peeking at him. His sinister chuckle adds to my raging desire to smash him into the ground. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting day of Chef Masters, Sean announces in his raucous and cheerful voice. Your next challenge will be to create the best dish based on the theme of the day. So, you need to come up with your best Southern, Cajun, and Creole-style dishes. Lobster will be your central element. Everyone has 1 hour. May the greatest cook win. As soon as the hosts allow us to proceed, we all rush toward the pantry. I smile to myself, knowing where I can find certain ingredients. It's the prevalence of retaining each content. My station is as worked up as I am, and it couldn't have come at a better time. I managed to reduce my cooking time by 5% with efficiency and accuracy, owing to the numerous practice sessions I've had for the past 3 days. I guess I'll have to acknowledge that I'm to blame for my defeat in the first challenge, since I allowed the other participants to get to me. But I'm not going to make the same mistake again. There's a lot on the line today, so I'm hoping my dish won't be underwhelming. All right, everyone hands up. Ready your dishes and we'll proceed with the judging. I breathe a relieved sigh as I wipe the sweat from my brow and gaze at my dish. It looks heavenly, and the aroma is divine. As far as I can tell, I didn't miss anything. Suddenly, my attention strays to Spencer. He's staring at me with that smug expression again, and I quickly avert my gaze. It's pointless to be irritated by his look of, "I'm going to win, you talentless schmucks." I'm positive I did well. When it's Spencer's dish going through tasting and judging, I couldn't help but scowl as all the judges praise and laud his dish. Of course, it isn't entirely unexpected. If only that kind of talent didn't belong to a jerk like Spencer Crow, the culinary world would be a better place. However, we mere humans have a long way to go before we can create such heaven. I fight the urge to roll my eyes as soon as he returns to his station with a raised brow at me. But luckily, I regain my composure just in time and present my dish. The judges' eyes widen the minute they have a taste. I'm terrified, especially when they become silent for a moment. Does it lack something? Why aren't they making any comments? Perhaps something went wrong with my dish. As the judges dismiss me with small smiles and nothing else, I swear I can hear Spencer snickering from his station. Now, Stewart, another judge, speaks as soon as I return to my spot. We've all tasted and evaluated your dishes. You've all given us a taste of what Southern, Cajun, or Creole dishes like by allowing those characteristics to show through in your cooking. Ramsay continues, and based on the taste, we've picked the chef who managed to capture the essence of the theme. Congratulations, Spencer Crow, for preparing today's second best dish. I squeeze my eyes shut as I accept defeat, my fists clenched so tightly that... Wait, what? I swallow. Hard. Second best dish? So, does that mean the winner of the second challenge is none other than Miss Octavia Washington? Congratulations. Your dish was so phenomenal. The judges had a hard time deciding what to say about it. Oliver smiles at me. Is this real? Am I dreaming? Tell me about it. Ramsay chuckles. Stewart cracks a grin. Well, you can consider that a compliment, Miss Washington. Your dish is the first in Chef Master history to render the judges speechless. I feel my hands shake. I'm feeling overwhelmed by what's happening now. My heart fills with joy as I snap my head towards Spencer. He's frowning like a madman at his station. I imitate his arrogant smile and smugly direct it at him.
Chapter 12. Spencer. Grin and bear it, Spencer Crow. You're doing this for your restaurant. I keep telling myself that, gritting my teeth into a semblance of a smile as I stand beside Octavia Washington. This woman dares to face me as an equal when I'm way out of her league. Not only that, but she's able to keep up with the hard work she's constantly going on about. Such a thought is absurd. It's ridiculous how she managed to win this challenge, beating me by some miracle or divine intervention. I scoff, as if innate brilliance could be defeated. If something isn't intended for you, no matter how hard you fight for it, then nothing will change that. I just wish Octavia will realize that too. As soon as the announcement ends, I storm out, furious and humiliated. But I manage to catch a glimpse of Octavia smiling from ear to ear. My blood boils. So this is how it feels to be beaten. It's detestable. As I step inside my room, I shut the door, climb in bed, and begin reliving what just happened, trying to figure out where I went wrong and what she may have done to gain the upper hand. Damn, I mutter, squinting my eyes before squeezing them shut. However, time passed, and I couldn't identify any flaws in my dish. Sighing, I pinch the bridge of my nose and tilt my head down. There's no use feeling bad about it. A glance at the clock indicates it's too late for other contestants to be roaming about, but it's still too early for me to sleep. I sit up abruptly, deciding to go to the kitchen. The lights are turned on, and I can hear cutlery clanging and clinking from within. I walk inside with a light sneer as I recognize the person before me. Octavia Washington. A smirk forms on my lips. It seems she's working on a new dish. Despite the chaos on the kitchen countertops, it still appears orderly enough that cleaning will be easy afterward. This is exactly the type of disorder I anticipate in my kitchen. Wait a minute. Did I just praise her? I mean, her method of moving around the kitchen, even though she's making a mess, demonstrates efficiency and all, but... What the hell am I thinking? I didn't come here to observe how systematic she is in the kitchen. I'm here to become a good Samaritan yet again, going out on a limb to warn her of her precarious position, as well as let her know her place. However, now that I'm leaning back on the countertop next to where she's working, I notice that she appears weary and exhausted compared to the last time I saw her. Then, all of a sudden, there's a weird sensation in my chest. It feels uncomfortable and foreign. Damn, this isn't the time to be delving into such inanity. I quickly give my head a vigorous shake, as if the act is capable of flicking away those maudlin thoughts from my head. So, I start, smirking as I halt behind her. She glances at me for a while, but the way she rolls her eyes doesn't escape my vision. I bite my lower lip, my eyes filled with amusement. Again, let me give you some advice, Miss Washington, I continue, unconcerned about whether she continues to ignore me. It's best if you give up now, I bite out, making her pause in the middle of chopping. You and I both know your victory today is just a fluke, or you can call it a glitch in the Matrix. So, while you're ahead, I recommend you cut your losses now. She scoffs at me, matching my stare, and that stops me for a split second. Based on what I've seen her do over the last several days, this woman isn't easily daunted by my temper. If I burst right now, I won't be getting anywhere. So much for my idea of allowing her to withdraw from the competition. I need to calm down and make her realize that our abilities are light years apart. Let's face it, Miss Washington. Talent is the only reason customers settle their butts on the seats in my business. Something you should keep in mind. My eyes widen with surprise and confusion as I watch her throw her head back and laugh out loud. She's laughing so hard, her entire body seems to be shaking. You're funny, she says, wiping her tears away with her sleeve. By threatening me like this, it only shows how frightened and upset you are by my victory. She stabs her knife into the chopping board with a determined expression on her face. How about I give you some advice as well? She asks sarcastically. If you believe that your talent is the only thing bringing customers to your restaurant, I suggest you work a little harder on that talent of yours. Her eyes feel like they're piercing through me. Weirdly, it sends shivers down my spine. She adds, So give it up, Crow. You're making a fool of yourself if you continue acting like this. What the hell? I grit my teeth. Something within me explodes. The combination of emotions frustrates me. I need to get away from her. I walk away without meeting her gaze and go back to my room before I do something drastic. Will this humiliation never end? I'll show her what I'm capable of. She doesn't want to take the easy way out. Well, since she's asking for it, we'll do it the hard way. I'll show her the difference between Spencer Crowe and Octavia Washington in the next round if I can't persuade her to recognize her position.
Chapter 13. Tavi. After making sure Spencer is gone, I let out a long sigh, shaking my head in disbelief as I lean against the counter. The more he speaks, the more his words boil my blood. He's the worst. That man is just unbelievable. It's much more exhausting arguing with him than doing things that require physical strength. I sigh again. I feel like I've aged years after talking to him. Even though I maintained a brave face before the guy, I still feel a little intimidated by the aura he emanates. There's no doubt that Spencer Crowe is one of a kind. The man can go anywhere because of his God-given talents. Although it appears that no one is perfect, I'm confident that, if not for his mindset, he could soar to greater heights. Nevertheless, he cares only about himself and being the best. Such a waste. But that doesn't matter. I'm here to make a point. And knocking that arrogant jerk on his butt is just a nice bonus. With a determined nod, I shake off the tiredness I've been under since the competition started. Competitions and challenges continue to pour in over the next few days. The winner for today's dessert challenge is Spencer Crowe. Congratulations. And then there's the next day, Congratulations, Octavia Washington, for presenting the best Asian dish. Over the last several challenges, Spencer and I have taken turns on who wins and who loses. Although there are many participants, one may mistakenly believe this is a competition only between Spencer and myself. However, as proud as I am of the outcomes in the challenges I've won, I find myself working even harder, pushing my boundaries even further to match his cooking skills. Even though I don't want to accept it, Spencer is a worthy foe. I've only won a few matches by scoring more than Spencer. Even so, it's taken everything I have to defeat him even-handedly. Both overestimating and underestimating oneself are two crucial mistakes that can lead to failure. On the other hand, great effort is the only thing that can guarantee consistency and good outcomes. It has never failed me before, and I doubt it will let me down now. That's why, on days when there aren't any competitions scheduled, I make it a point to spend all my leisure time in the kitchen, training. I make sure to increase my practice time by an hour to face Spencer head-on with each victory. While in the middle of prepping my ingredients for another attempt, my phone starts ringing on the counter. Peering at the screen, I see my mother's name on the caller ID. I sigh. I amble over to my phone, biting my lower lip, nervous and a little frightened about what she's going to say. "Hey, Mom," I say a little hesitantly. "I knew you were still up. Look at the time. You should be sleeping already." Despite the exhaustion from training and my mother's nagging, hearing her voice gives me a newfound surge of enthusiasm. She's always been there for me, one of the foundations I've built all my hard work on since I was a child. It's why our estrangement before this competition hurt me so deeply. I suddenly remember that we were arguing the last time we saw each other. Regardless, I pine for her. On days like this, nothing would give me greater pleasure than a hug from my mom. "Geez, thanks, Mom. I appreciate your concern," I tease. I hear her utter a wheezy chuckle. "Oh, you." A soft smile tugs at my lips as I shake my head. I'm sure she's aware I'm no longer mad at them. And her answer in itself is confirmation that our conflict is a thing of the past. When we argue in our family, we don't necessarily apologize verbally. Rather, we express our apologies through actions, giving them a token, like a favorite food or an item they'd like. "Anyway, I just called to check up on you," she says, clearing her throat. "I'm watching the newest episode of that culinary competition you're in with your father. And Tavi, you're doing fantastic," Mom adds. "That's my Tavi." I snicker when I hear my father's faint voice in the distance. I smile as I clutch the phone closer to me, as if I can feel my parents' embrace through it. "I appreciate it, Mom." "Please tell Dad as well," I echo. "I hope you don't overwork yourself, Tavi. Please bear in mind that your father and I worry about you." Here we go again. I roll my eyes and shake my head, but I refuse to be irritated by their continued worry. I'm not overworking myself. I'm more than capable of accomplishing anything, including defeating Spencer. Why do my parents constantly act as though I'm incapable of knowing my own abilities? Mom, I promise I'm not overworking myself. I trail off as my gaze wanders around the kitchen before making a split decision to lie. I'm actually in my room right now and was about to sleep when you called. Well, all right then. That's nice to hear. No matter the outcome of this contest, we know you'll do your best. You always do, baby girl. You rest now and take care, okay? I will, Mom. Love you. Oh, and don't forget to send my love, Dad. We say our goodbyes, and I go back to work in the kitchen, intending to get in another hour of practice before turning in for the night.
You won't know what hit you, baby. I'm going to take you, break you, and make you mine. When I'm done, you're...
Now hold on just a minute.
What?
I got something to say.
What's the meaning of this?
Now you may be some fine-looking white boy,
Got that right, baby. It takes hard work.
and you might got the money,
Fat stacks, baby, to spoil you with.
but that doesn't mean I'm going to give it up to you without a fight.
A fight?
You want some limp wilting flowers? Go to historical romance, baby. But you want sassy and spicy strong black queens that tame their alpha male bad boys?
I think our listeners do.
Then you go on and look at Miss Tyla's Bougie Brides and Billionaires audio bundle.
50 hours of me whispering the most romantic things in your ears. Fake marriages, alpha male billionaires, strong black women, steamy scenes that will make your eyes roll back. Everything wrapped up in a happily ever after that will put you in an afterglow.
Use code SAVE40 to get 40% off this bundle and any other digital product in Miss Tyla's store.
Unabridged and uncut.
Just like you,
You're gonna have to find out.
Tyla Walker Romances. Escape your life with sassy romance.
Chapter 14. Spencer. Ever since I was young, I've always marveled at how my grandmother cooks. I enjoy watching her, and eating her food never fails to bring a smile to my face. She brings nothing but excellence to the table. And it was when I first picked up a knife and a pan to recreate my grandmother's recipes as closely as possible that everything came together inside me. I imitated her cooking style and trusted my intuition. It was at that point that my family realized I had an innate talent for cooking. People refer to me as a prodigy, then and even now. Everything I cook turns out exactly how I want it to. Everything else other people accomplish seemed inferior in quality compared to mine. As a result, the phrase, "talent is the only key," has become my motto. However, things are slowly changing after I met Octavia Washington. I managed to get over the anger and embarrassment with each obstacle in my way, swapping victories and defeats with her. It's shocking because I previously never believed I could do such a thing. Not only that, but I've noticed that my viewpoint on flawless cooking is gradually shifting. Even while Octavia lacks the true genius I possess, she compensates for it with phenomenal technique and accuracy through years of effort. Now that I've witnessed confirmation that someone with little to no skill can make dishes as good as or better than mine, I'm beginning to question if my motto is fair. Was it ethical for me to live my entire life condemning those who didn't have the talent I possess? Out of frustration, I release a puff of air as I walk into the kitchen. Even though it's late in the evening, the lights are turned on as usual. The other candidates are most likely asleep at this hour, except for one individual, Tavi. Today's challenge resulted in a loss for me, though I've won the previous 3 challenges in a row. However, as I've seen before, when she loses, she works twice as hard as when she wins. As days pass, the more I realize how horribly I treated her just because she's so immersed in her passion. I lean on the counter closest to her and discreetly observe her while she works. Her movements lack elegance and appear tight, but I admire the speed and efficiency with which she moves. "So, what motivates you to cook?" I ask her out of the blue, making her flinch. Octavia tilts her head, looking at me in disbelief. I wince because, no matter how much I despise the idea, I can't refute facts. Every time I've gone into the kitchen when she's cooking, all I do is stare at her with a critical eye and end the night by disparaging her talents or criticizing her methods. Damn, was I always such a jerk? Silence falls for a while before she speaks. "Well," she deadpans, her voice low, "I'm not sure why you suddenly posed that question." She chuckles as she starts chopping her vegetables, but it's the same as asking why a gourmet eats or why a painter paints. A soft smile forms on her lips before she continues, "I cook because I enjoy it." "Okay?" I scratch my chin absent-mindedly. "But why put so much effort into it? You can cook fine without working so hard." She shrugs. "Well, what can I say? Do you realize how satisfying it feels after a long day at work? When I'm cooking, it's the same way. I work hard to bring smiles to the faces of those people who eat what I prepared." She completes her cutting, carefully stowing the knife, and washes her hands before she continues. Talent, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't refine your dishes at your restaurant. And during the competition, doesn't it qualify as hard work? My pride stings at the thought, but I refuse to recognize what she said. Even if I'm beginning to question my belief that talent is everything, I'm still not ready to confront all these changes. Perhaps one day, I will acknowledge that hard work exists in the culinary arts, but not today. The clang of pots and pans snap me out of my trance, and I watch as Octavia oils the pan. I peek at the clock and see that it's already late, but I have no interest in leaving the kitchen just yet. I understand your training. I falter for a moment, breaking the silence. And there's no time restriction, but I think it's ideal if you create a schedule for your training, not working overnight and waking up early. Don't you think you're pushing your body to exhaustion? Or maybe one dish for one night. Damn. I want to cringe. I don't know why I immediately feel compelled to offer her some advice, and not criticism. Now, I'm sure she'll mock me and say, "I haven't thought of that before," she says. That sounds good. I admit I occasionally struggle with time management. I become too immersed in my cooking and I lose track of time. She turns to face me and gives me yet another smile. Thank you, Spence. I frown. No one ever dares call me that, yet I can't bring myself to reprimand her. I'll let this pass just one time. Anyway, since I'm here, I might as well criticize your work, I joke. Oh, please. Octavia rolls her eyes at me. Grace me with your benevolence, Spence. And just like that, we spend a pleasant time in the kitchen. For once. I watch her cook and occasionally give her some feedback. I haven't had that much fun in a long time, and I'm feeling good for the first time in my life.
Chapter 15. Tavi. That was the first night I've spent with Spencer where we didn't hiss and bark at each other like cats and dogs. I'm dubious when he first expressed his views that night. I assumed he was making a dig at my cooking or my self-esteem, and that he was attempting to make me feel small to dissuade me from the competition, like all the other times. However, the next night, just a few days before the next challenge, I'm back in the kitchen with Spencer. I wondered if he wandered into the kitchen by mistake or something, but I stood corrected when he stayed and continued to watch me cook. Even though he shares his opinions crudely and unpleasantly, he doesn't sugarcoat, which allows me to see how fair and balanced his remarks really are. He even helps me with my dish, tasting it afterward and asking me for a comparison. I never go into the kitchen after that without my handy notepad and pen. Spencer used to organize workshops and seminars, and as I heard before, he has a terrible image in the culinary business. But the cost of enrollment was more than I make in half a year. Nevertheless, I have this opportunity for some one-on-one, and I'm not going to waste it. It's an understatement to say being coached by Spencer Crowe, for free no less, is thrilling and invigorating. He doesn't seem to realize I'm using his expertise for free, and I want to keep it that way. A soft smile tugs my lips. It feels like only yesterday that we butted heads like a couple of enraged stags, and now we're coexisting peacefully in a kitchen. Who knew I could be so at ease with him that I would leech off his knowledge without fear or agitation anymore? Not only that, but every time he comes into the kitchen, he seems intent on surprising me. Recently, he's taken it upon himself to man the pots and pans I leave on the stove while I multitask during my nighttime training, and it appears like he has positioned himself as my mentor in some way. Though I'm not fully convinced, he certainly acts the part. "No!" Spencer yells. I roll my eyes, looking away to make sure he doesn't see it. "Don't you roll your eyes at me like that, Tavi." He leans closer to me. "Give me that," he orders, gazing at the dish I'm attempting to plate. He looks at me. "Is this what you mean by plating?" A scowl is visible on his face. "Even kids make better-looking sandcastles with their grubby hands than you do right now," he grumbles as he saunters up to the trash bin and dumps my dish inside unceremoniously. A small, distressed shriek escapes my lips as I watch the dish slide into the garbage with a muffled thump. Sure, my plating is more or less the reason why I lose to him in challenges. Plus, now that I'm growing used to his language, I don't let his words bother me. But he doesn't have to make such a jerk move and toss my plate out. I gape at him for a few seconds before snapping back to reality. "Hey, what the hell?" I cackle, but it doesn't seem to faze him. He stomps back to my side and shoves a clean and empty plate into my hands before taking another for himself. He gives me a cold stare and begins to plate. His eyes urge me to follow his lead, and I rush to do it. "Your plating sucks," he complains. "It's sloppy and hideous." He shakes his head at me in mock disappointment. You've probably heard of the term food porn before. Yes, it's where people appreciate the beauty of food, as well as the taste and aroma, simply by looking at it. He continues. That's why, even though appearance isn't everything in food, it does play a significant part in enticing customers to eat. As we finish plating, I glance at his plate and mine, realizing he's right. Even while my food is undoubtedly tasty, my previous plating doesn't make it appear appetizing. But because I mimicked how Spencer plates, I can perceive the difference between my prior attempt and this one. Out of frustration, I puff. Still, he didn't have to chuck my previous dish. There are many starving individuals in the world. He turns around abruptly and gives me a stern look. I'm about to open my mouth to respond, but he cuts me off. I know what you're thinking. If you're going to plate something, you might as well plate it well. If not, consider your dish trash. You don't want to waste food? Then plate it to perfection. With a huff, he strides toward the sink and begins to wash up, leaving me staring at his back. After a few while, though, I can't help but smile as everything starts to make sense. So, contrary to popular belief, Mr. Prickly Spencer Crow is not a jerk. In the kitchen, he's gruff and obnoxious. But out of it, he's a quiet man who stays to himself, as long as he's not provoked. Besides, I've noticed he doesn't act like a jerk for no reason. He may not correctly phrase his advice and assistance, but it only goes to show he's a perfectionist who loves to cook. I'm the same way. I can't blame the man for wanting his products to be the best they can be. I find myself watching him assist me in cleaning up the kitchen when it's time for us to go. When he lifts his attention from the plates, our eyes connect, and instead of his customary scowl, he offers me a tiny grin, and my heart skips a very likely beat at that.
Chapter 16. Spencer, things are going forward rapidly in the competition. We have our usual challenges and someone is eliminated. These past few days, I've been staying up late with Tavi in the kitchen. More often than not, she gives me ideas for recipes I can use in my restaurants in the future. People tell me I've been a lot softer with her. That would probably explain why some of the other contestants have started talking to me more casually. I honestly don't mind the new changes. I even clap for Tavi when she wins some events, not minding losing to someone just as passionate about cooking as I am. A smile tugs on my lips as I grab my knife case and make my way to the kitchen. "Oh, Spence, you're here," she says as she smiles at me. Perfect timing, actually. I could use the help. "All right, what do you need me to do?" I reply. "We have a whole rib roast in the fridge." Her voice sounds hoarse. "We need 2-inch steak cuts, 1-inch steak cuts, and thin steak cuts. We can use the meat cutting machine for that." "How many cuts each?" I ask. "Just 2 each should do," she replies, taking deep breaths like it's taking every energy to release a phrase. "Are you okay?" She nods, and that worries me, but she's the type who works quite vigorously even when it's not necessary. So I decide to ignore it and get to the meat preparation. We stay quiet for a few minutes, concentrating on our tasks. I work on the meats while she's preparing the onions for a red wine onion jam we're testing out. Finally, after a bit of silence, she talks to me again, halting in her vegetable chopping to do so. I notice you've made a lot of changes throughout the course of the competition. You know that? She asks. I falter for a moment. I have no idea what you're talking about, I say as I chuckle. You know what I'm talking about, Spence. She stops mid-sentence. All the guys are a lot chummier with you now. I heard you talking to Henri and Hao about hardcore French technique versus Asian preparations. They looked like they were having a lot of fun bouncing ideas off you, she adds as she turns to me with a sly smile. Those two are especially talented individuals in New Age cuisine techniques. I wanted to learn more. Besides, it isn't worth talking to. Someone who isn't talented? She cuts me off as she rolls her eyes. I shrug. Well, I guess hard work does play a factor since you work harder than anyone else here. And we're tied in overall wins. So that means my way is just as effective as yours, she says, her voice tinged with pride. It's just a matter of who wants it more. And not to burst your bubble, Spence, but nobody wants it more than me, she winks. I plaster a smile as I shake my head in astonishment. That feistiness in her is what's reeling me to her side. The fact that she wants to succeed more than anyone else is honestly an inspiration. But more than that, there's something about her passion and drive that keeps me coming back to this kitchen late at night. Well, I guess we'll find out now, won't we? I reply. For now, I'm done with these steaks. You want to get the rest of the ingredients going? Sure, she replies, slowing down a bit. She rests her hands on the counter, almost as if she's losing her balance. Her hand raises to her forehead as she tries to shake off whatever she is feeling. All the while, I have a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. Tavi, are you sure you're okay? I ask, becoming more and more uneasy. I'm fine. I'm just... She rasps. I appreciate that you're finally opening up to others, you know? She says as she leans against the table. I know you've been a lone wolf all your life, but it's a lot nicer to have a pack, right? Just as she finishes her sentence, she loses strength in her legs. Fortunately, I catch her before she falls to the ground. Jesus Christ! I take her unconscious body in my arms and hurriedly walk toward the living area. With a grunt, I finally get to lay Octavia on the sofa with her legs propped on the armrest. A voice interrupts just as I'm about to pull out my phone to call for help. Spencer, what's going on? Hal asks, his voice filled with worry. We need a medic. Get Mrs. Rush, I say, trying to calm myself. Got it, hold on, Hal replies as he rushes out of the room. Within moments, everyone in the house is awake and the EMTs arrive, helping me bring Octavia to her room. They check on her while I wait outside. Fortunately, we haven't seen any other complications. The only conclusion we could come to is exhaustion. She needs some serious rest. I sigh with relief as I thank them. I go inside Tavi's room to find her sleeping soundly. Taking a deep breath, I stare at her as my gaze darts around her oval-shaped face, her caramel-colored skin, her thin lips. I don't know how this happened, but I can't stop staring at her, drawn to the sight before me. One thing's for sure, my heart is frozen in place, and blood is rushing through every vein in my body.
Chapter 17. Tavi. I'm in a haze. Everything is dark, and all I can feel is an intense throbbing in my head and the severe need to puke my guts out. What's happening? I can feel the softness of a pillow underneath my head and the cushion of the mattress under my body. I don't remember going to bed. I open my eyes slowly, taking a long time to readjust my vision as I try to regain control of my physical motions. As my vision begins to clear, I take a look around and notice that Spencer is seated in the chair at the opposite end of the room. He looks like he's asleep, but I call out to him. Spence, I ask in a weak tone, still exhausted beyond belief. Spencer begins to stir after a couple of minutes, and he practically jumps out and shakes himself awake before settling next to me. Tavi, he lets out a sigh of relief. I was worrying over what might have happened to you. A smile escapes from my lips as I glance up at him. It's refreshing to see him expose a bit of his vulnerable side to me. I'd have teased him if I had the energy. I try to sit up, but he doesn't let me. "No, don't you even consider getting out of that bed," he says sternly. "The EMTs told me you've strained yourself." He then lets out another sigh, this time of exasperation. "When was the last time you've had a proper night's sleep?" he asks as he gets the pitcher, pouring the water into the glass. "I understand why you work so hard, but if you keep this up, you'll end up dying before you win this competition." I look at him with a surprised expression on my face. This is honestly the most caring thing he's ever done for me throughout the competition. As he continues with his lecture, I can't help but chuckle at the absurdity of the situation. "What are you laughing about, Tavi?" he complains as he offers the glass of water to me. "Overtraining has to be the most boneheaded thing you've done." I devour the water first before answering him. I'm so sorry, I can't help it." I squint my eyes at him, trying to fight my chuckle. "You lecturing me about overworking seems so out of character," I add. "Well, sorry for worrying then," he interjects. No, I'm sorry, Spencer," I say softly. I'm sorry if I caused you any concern. I trail off. What good is my body if I don't accomplish anything with it, you know? He looks at me with a pissed-off expression on his face. That has to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. "You are no use to anyone if you kill yourself from overwork," his gaze never leaving mine throughout. "I won't allow you to burn yourself out. There has to be a balance. I'll help you find it if you need me to," he adds, a much more caring undertone in his words. His voice, there's so much earnestness and worry in them. I have a hard time believing that they're directed at me. Silence falls for a while. "Would you help me find the balance I'm looking for?" I ask. Of course. If it's the last thing I ever do, then I would do it gladly. My stomach flutters a little at how much he's willing to do for me. The more I look at him, the more I realize there's something about his eyes. I'm drowning in them. They seem to mirror the ocean, making me shift into my place uncomfortably. I have to do one thing, just to make sure. I feel my heart beating so fast inside my chest as I sit up abruptly. "Tavi, are you sure you want to?" "Don't worry. I just have to tell you something. It's important," I reply as I gesture for him to come a little closer. "I have to whisper it." "All right, if you say so," he nods. Here goes nothing. Gathering the courage, I brace myself to look him straight in the eye. Damn, those blue eyes are striking. As he leans closer, I quickly cup his face toward mine. He looks shocked at my sudden movement. Before I can even change my mind, I close my eyes and lock my lips with his, making Spencer tense. Seconds pass before he starts moving his lips. I deepen the kiss as I feel his hand caress my back. The kiss of a lifetime makes time stand still, as finally, we pull away from each other. I look at him. His eyes glint with amusement. The sudden realization strikes me. I kissed Spencer Crow. I open my mouth to talk, but no sound leaves my throat. "Hey!" Spencer calls my attention. A smile forms on his lips. "Take it easy." I half smile, debating whether I should open up about the kiss, but I can't bring myself to do it. So instead, I say so quietly he can barely hear, "Spence, thank you for looking out for me." "No worries," he shrugs. Silence falls for a moment. I have to go and let everyone know you're okay and that you're awake. I also have to update the producers on the situation. For now, stay in bed, all right?" I glance at him as he stands up, and my heart thumps hard against my chest when I catch him looking at me. I gulp. "All right," I say, trying to sound as casual as possible. He nods his head before finally leaving the room. As soon as he leaves, I grab my pillow and scream into it, squeezing it as tightly as I can. This is it, baby. This is what you can get me that'll make me happy.
You know I'll get you whatever you want. All you need to do is ask me and I'll give it to you.
This ain't just it. This is everything I could ever want.
Now I'm curious. What does a strong, sassy woman like yourself want so badly?
Baby, you know what I want?
I can't wait to hear.
The Big Baddie bundle from Tyla Walker. It has everything I need.
20 ebooks with over 1 million words of sassy romance and spice that'll keep you on your toes.
10 audiobooks containing over 60 hours of that seductive voice telling me naughty things all night long.
You don't need an audiobook for that, baby. Right here.
You may be fine and all, but no one tells it like the way Miss Tyla does. And I need her in my life.
The Big Baddie bundle is everything you need. You can get it for 80% off.
Go to TylaWalker.com to browse the bundles that earn you the best deals.
It's time you treat yourself. Because you deserve it.
Escape your life with Miss Tyla.
Chapter 18. Spencer. Holy crap! A smile forms on my lips as the kiss replays in my mind. After letting myself calm down, I chuckle at the idea that I'm behaving like a high schooler who just received his first kiss. Still, compared to every other kiss I've had, that one was on a whole different level, all I can think about is how that kiss felt right, and how soft and delicate her lips were. As I try to gather myself enough to go to the rest of the participants, I find Sean Neville waiting for me at the end of the hall, right near the stairs. He gives me his typical annoying wave, which I ignore. Nothing can bring me down today. Well, if it isn't, Sean hums. I stare at him, my eyebrows arched in annoyance. I guess I shouldn't allow myself to sound too flippant. I'm sorry to hear about what happened to Octavia. Is she all right? He asks, his tone strangely solemn. She's doing better. She woke up and I was able to speak with her briefly before leaving. I'm sure all she needs is some rest, I say nonchalantly. I see, well, I'm relieved to hear that. He pats my shoulder. Anyway, I was sent up here by the higher-ups to come talk to her, but knowing that she isn't in the best of shape at the moment, I'll come back later. I frown, but can't resist asking. Well, what exactly do you want to discuss with her? Oh, it's nothing to be concerned about, Spencer, he says as he gulps uneasily before shrugging his shoulders. I cock my head when he diverts his attention. Something about him driving all the way here only to speak to Tavi about something insignificant is a little suspicious. The fact that Sean Neville, the fountain of charisma, is bothered by this indicates that something more is amiss. I give a dry laugh. If it isn't important, it shouldn't be an issue whether I know about it or not. Right, Sean? He takes a deep breath. Listen, if you get aggressive with me, you know how that will reflect on your image, he says, ignoring my question about Octavia. I already have the global reputation for being a jerk. How's this going to change that? I snicker, giving myself some time to calm down. Well, Chef Masters may have to file a lawsuit, he answers, wincing. And I have all the resources to hire a team of attorneys who will exploit every loophole in the show, I hiss. He attempts to come up with more reasons to escape, but to no avail. Finally, he caves and tells me the reason he came. The superiors instructed me to come here and check on Octavia's status. With a sigh, he continues. They warned me that if anything goes wrong with her health, she'll have to withdraw from the competition. I feel my blood boil, anger consuming me. I grab him by the collar and slam him against the wall the second I hear those words. Oh, hey, are you out of your mind? Sean looks at me with wide eyes. You're the one who's out of your mind, I yell back, glancing around to see whether anybody else has heard me. To keep suspicion at bay, I lower my voice. But with my blood boiling like this, I have no idea how much longer I can contain my fury. You have no idea how hard she's worked for this chance, and for how long? I grit my teeth. The finals are coming up in the next round, and you want her off the show? Are you insane? I ask in a frantic whisper. It's not my call, Spencer. If she collapses again, she might sue. I look at him with my mouth agape. And there's proof. We can't have that type of litigation on our hands. The show can't recover from that kind of scandal. I glare at him and reply, she won't sue. And what if she collapses again? She won't, I say, as my knuckles turn white from how hard I'm squeezing his collar. He sighs and shakes his head a little before looking back at me. All right. If you could just calm down for a second, I might be able to figure something out. But first, you have to let me go, he adds, his expression indicating how surprised he is by my actions. As soon as I let him go, I realize I'm stunned by what I've done. I run my hand down my face as Sean stares at me like he's seen a ghost, but quickly recovering his composure. He takes a deep breath as he shakes his head slightly. How strange. I never thought you were capable of caring that much for anyone, he says, scrutinizing me. Are you sure, Spencer, you're the same person? I look at him for a moment before I sigh. She's something else, I reply. Clearly, he exclaims, still shocked. To have such an impact on you, you've got to be in it for the long haul. I am. Finally, his shocked expression subsides, and a grin appears on his lips. Even after an altercation like this, he's still a good friend. Fine. You hold her in high regard. As a friend who's happy for you, I'm going to do something about this, okay? Suddenly, I feel a little guilty for roughing up Sean, but I'm thankful all the same. He reaches out for a brotherly handshake, and I bring him in for a hug. She means the world to me.
Chapter 19. Tavi. It's the competition's last and final hurdle, and it's being televised in real time. The winner will receive the title of Chef Master. The audience's applause makes my limbs turn cold from nervousness. When I look at the crowd, I find my mom and dad smiling at me. They appear pleased that I've progressed this far, and I'm grateful they're here to support me. I glance over at Spencer. Looking at him, I realized he's changed a lot. He's become a better person, more sensitive and thoughtful, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who noticed. He suddenly turns around, catching my gaze. He wishes me luck, which makes me grin. My heart is pounding so hard. I can hear it in my ears as Sean explains the criteria for the final challenge. And as I predicted, we would be serving a full-course meal to the judges. The one thing I didn't expect is that we'd have to command a whole kitchen crew composed of the candidates who've been eliminated. It warms my heart to see them again. But I remind myself I'm still in the competition and must maintain my focus. I assumed that commanding a team would be tough for Spencer, but now I can see how nicely he responds to each member whenever they ask him something. Shaking my head, I keep my attention on mine, splitting them for speed and efficiency, and using the knowledge I've gained from previous interactions with them. It isn't always smooth sailing. During the process, several issues and incidents occur that almost make me lose patience. However, I choose to remain calm and focus on finding a solution considering the time. I apply everything I know and everything I've learned in this competition. Even if I don't win, I can claim that it's all worthwhile. With a total of 97.68%, Chef Tavi Washington is the next chef master, Sean announces copiously, followed by a loud cheer and confetti shower. The judges put on the sash and give me a bouquet, while my eyes wander around. I smile as I catch a glimpse of Spencer, who's smiling and clapping at my win. My parents congratulate me and give me a hug. With everything happening around me, I haven't processed my victory. It's bewildering. A soft smile forms on my lips as I gaze at the trophy on my table. I suddenly feel melancholic, realizing I've been in this room for far too long. I heave a sigh. Busy? A husky voice brings me out of my thoughts. I snap my head around and I see Spencer leaning against the doorframe, looking at me with a smile on his face. His hair is damp, as if he'd just taken a shower. I shrug as I sit on my bed. Not anymore, I just finished packing. He nods and gestures for permission if he can enter my room. Bummer. He snickers. I was thinking of helping you. He smirks, and his gaze roams around my room and linger on the trophy. Time flies so fast. Spencer trails off. I didn't plan on joining this competition because I already believed I was the best, but I'm glad I did because I met you. His eyes went to me. You've taught me a lot, and I'll be eternally grateful, he adds as he walks over and sits next to me. It dawns on me that this will be the last time I see him. I'm going back to California, and he's probably returning to New York for work. I don't want him to go. We met in this competition, we became friends, and I like him. I don't want this to end, I say. Spencer plasters a smile, brushing his fingers against my cheek before tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. Me either, he says before closing the space between us. I'm about to open my mouth to respond, but he cuts me off with a kiss. I hate to put a stop to a good time, but it looks like we've hit this platform's limit for spiciness.
This platform's got some rules we have to play by if we want to keep giving you these stories for free.
And trust me, this scene isn't something you want to miss.
While we can't get into all the details here, you can still dive into the full, uncut version at TylaWalker.com.
Miss Tyla has an entire collection of unabridged audiobooks and ebooks waiting for you.
And the best part? You can treat yourself with 40% off when you use the code SAVE40.
That's right. You'll save on any digital product, even bundles that are already discounted.
Miss Tyla would never let anyone feel the kind of disappointment you must be feeling right now.
So why wait? Treat yourself with Miss Tyla.
Chapter 20. Spencer. The lights are blinding, and the makeup artist's brush on my face feels itchy. If Tavi hadn't forced me to join, I would never have agreed to this nonsense. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Spencer Crow! Sean Neville's voice echoes through the air. I shake his hand and take a seat on the high stool as I flash a smile at the camera. It's been a year since the competition ended, and everyone has been meaning to ask, how is Spencer Crow doing? Sean starts. I can say the competition was the greatest thing that has happened in my life. I didn't win, but I did get something far more precious. A smile tugs on my lips as I recall the past year. Who would have thought I'd be in a relationship with Tavi? Back then we fought like cats and dogs, but now everything has changed. Sean smirks and emphasizes how, after the competition, I turned into a lovesick guy. I chuckle. It's a fact that everyone who watched the program knows, and it's something I can't deny. We heard you're opening a new restaurant? That's correct. I nod. Can you tell us more? Well, I'm opening a restaurant in California. I falter for a moment. And one of the head chefs will be my fiancée, Octavia Washington. Shock flashes across Sean's face, but he transforms it quickly into a smile. Do I get a free meal? Sean teases, making me laugh. I shrug. You'll have to ask my fiancé about that. He asks me more questions until the conversation turns to my impending wedding. Your wedding to Octavia Washington isn't a secret. When and where will it be held? Sean asks curiously. Actually, I slowly pull my fingers out to show him my ring. I hear the audience gasp, and I can't help but smile at their astonishment when I eventually reveal that we had gotten married and that I just came from a 2-week honeymoon in Hawaii. The jerk's eyes widen, but I simply raise my brow at him. Now I'm sure that if we weren't broadcasting live, he'd have cursed at me for revealing such explosive news without informing him beforehand. The interview ends with my new motto: talent and hard work are two different things, but when combined, you'll create something extraordinary. As soon as I get home, a loud slap in my shoulder welcomes me. What? I chuckle, pulling Tavi into my arms. Why did you say it like that? She asks, frowning. His questions were boring, I groan as I cup her face with my hand. So, I decided to spice it up a bit. I wink at her. And what do I get for showing up for the interview and ending our honeymoon a week early? I ask. She slowly pulls away from me. Only then do I notice that she's wearing a crimson silk robe that complements her caramel skin. My feelings for her are so strong. I don't think I'll be able to live without her. She's my savior, my inspiration, and my soulmate. She saved me from certain doom. She taught me it's acceptable to make mistakes as long as I'm ready to learn from them, that hard work and talent are both necessary, and she taught me I couldn't exist alone. I'll spend this lifetime proving to her that choosing me as her husband and father of our future children is the best decision she's ever made. Just like I'm certain meeting her has been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I hate to put a stop to a good time, but it looks like we've hit this platform's limit for spiciness.
This platform's got some rules we have to play by if we want to keep giving you these stories for free.
And trust me, this scene isn't something you want to miss.
While we can't get into all the details here, you can still dive into the full, uncut version at tylawalker.com.
Miss Tyla has an entire collection of unabridged audiobooks and ebooks waiting for you.
And the best part? You can treat yourself with 40% off when you use the code SAVE40.
That's right. You'll save on any digital product, even bundles that are already discounted.
Miss Tyla would never let anyone feel the kind of disappointment you must be feeling right now.
So why wait? Treat yourself with Miss Tyla.